My relationship with Dad had a rough start, but it ended with redemption for both of us. The first memories that I have of Dad is that he was the strongest man in the whole world. Yes, he was, but he was also the pastor that everybody loved. In those first years of my childhood, Dad was gone a lot. I was super hyperactive and defiant, and I got into a lot of trouble. Dad was mostly my disciplinarian. By the time I got into third grade, I was known by name by the vice principal and the emergency room. And then in junior high, I became known by the police. I remember well Dad's anguish with me and his efforts to turn me around. At that time, Dad was my sheriff. In high school, I began listening to Dad's preaching from high up in the balcony where he couldn't see my tears. He made the scriptures come alive with his stories and biblical history, and after finding my own relationship with Jesus, I found that Dad had become my pastor, and yet we remained somewhat distant. During college, Dad went through a time of crisis. As a result, he became much more humble and approachable to me. This is the first time I remember him telling me that he was sorry for things that he had done or had not done as a father, and I had the opportunity to tell him that I was sorry for being so difficult as a child. At that time, Dad became my inspiration. After I got married, went into ministry, and had my own 2 kids, Dad got a lot smarter in my eyes, and he became my counselor. After starting Catalyst almost 18 years ago, he quickly became my advisor and my closest colleague. He met me for lunch often and helped me lead Catalyst projects with Mom by his side and worked with me on home improvement adventures. He had truly become my best friend. There's no way I can list all the character traits and skills that I gleaned from Dad, but I will say that the most valuable was how he learned to come back from failure. Dad wasn't perfect, none of us are, but he became a champion in the art of apologizing, repenting, and doing better next time. Through this pattern, God was able to build the unique and magnetic character of the very special man we are here to celebrate today.
Hi, this is Jason, and first I think what I want to say most is my dad was the greatest man that I ever met. He was incredible. He was so gentle and caring and compassionate and generous, and I just think he was a wonderful man. And I'm so grateful for the exposure to the natural kingdom from him. I learned all about plants and animals. We take vacations every year, and I've put that to use in many good vegetable gardens, things I learned from my dad.
It's hard for me to isolate a single memory that I cherish, but my most treasured memories as a child were our family vacations. My parents loved being outdoors and taught me how to camp, how to hike, and how to gaze at the stars. These were the best times because I got my dad all to myself, and he was most at ease in nature. He taught me how to cook on a Coleman stove and how fun white gas can be. He taught me how to put up a tent and play Yahtzee when it rained. He taught me that the best parts of the national parks were on long hikes far away from the crowds. Over my adult years, we both experienced highs and lows. Things weren't always easy for us. But the one thing that remained the same was that I could always count on my dad to show up for me, and I gave him a lot of opportunities. I would not be who I am today without him. He was always eager to tell me how proud he was of me and that he believed in me. Taking care of my dad at the end of his life was a great burden, but also the greatest gift. I got to show up for him this time. And watching him face his death with such acceptance and grace taught me so much about his faith in God. This was the hardest time, but also the sweetest time. And I feel so blessed by the moments that we shared. He hasn't been gone long, but something that already stands out to me is that I keep thinking to call him, to tell him about the kids' first day at school, or his lasagna I made, or the walk I took Dolly on. He wanted to know everything he could about his family, and especially his grandkids. He was the best papa.
The name I lovingly use for Taft is Papa, just like all of his grandkids. And I met Papa 32 years ago when Sean took me home to meet the parents. And I walked in the kitchen and Papa was unloading the dishwasher and he stuck his hand out and he said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Taft and I am Sean's brother." And he didn't crack a smile. And I thought, wow, is he his brother? No, I think he's his dad, right? I was very young and I just knew I was gonna love this guy. So our first moment was silly. We had lots of other silly moments. I loved his humor. And up until, I don't know, the week before he passed, we were giggling probably about all of his farts or something like that. So we had a sweet levity to our friendship, but there was more than that. There was a depth, a deep heart connection that we had because he had the ability to see deeper than most people can see. And he looked into me and he saw things in me from my childhood, and he really loved me. And he could see into my eyes a little bit more, and that really bonded us. So the country drives, I will miss our long walks and cooking together. He was an amazing cook and taught me a lot. And our pursuit of Jesus together, just discussing so many times what a lifelong journey with Jesus looks like and trying to heal with him. I will miss Papa. I already miss him so, so much. And I am so incredibly thankful and glad that God gave me Papa.
Remember the most with fond memories that Dad Taft was always ready to go on a trip, and we had so many wonderful trips.
Hi, this is Megan and Sarah, the twins, and we want to talk about two lessons that Papa taught us. One is family and one is relationships. And we are truly blessed to be part of a family that was built by Grammy and Papa. We had a family that everyone wanted to be a part of, and we had friends growing up who just wanted to be adopted into it. And they adopted one of our friends, Bailey, and we feel truly blessed to have had Grammy and Papa in like every childhood memory.
Yeah, we hope we continue the family relationships the way that they taught us. And Papa was the kind of person who always asked the most personal questions when he would meet you, but he was also the person you want to share everything with. And one of the most important lessons he taught me that I will always keep with me is that relationships are the most important thing we have in this life, and we need to cherish them. And so the way that we will honor Papa is by loving others and cherishing our relationships. And there's a piece of scripture that always reminds me of him that I want to share. It says, "I urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace." We love you, Papa.
I love you.
I want to honor my Papa today by recording a message that I wrote for him. I shared it on social media shortly after his passing, and I think that it really reflects our relationship and how I feel about him. 27 years is a really long time to know and love someone, but the house where I learned to play board games and how to pick strawberries is gone, and now my Papa, who taught me how to make spaghetti sauce and tried to teach me how to pee in the woods, is also gone. All of my first memories of camping are with you. You taught me how to make camp stew and how to creek walk. You called me after I got arrested and told me that you were proud of me. I'll never forget hiking with you on your 80th birthday and everyone almost having a heart attack because of how careless you were being. Your laugh could be heard buildings away, and I wish I could hear it one more time. I would give anything to hear you sing for us again. You were fierce and an absolute force of nature and the standard to which I hold all men. Thank you for the time that you gave us. I'm so thankful that you are free now. My heart breaks knowing you won't officiate my wedding or see me turn 30. The hole you leave is absolutely enormous, and I'll never stop telling people about you. But I know I'll find you in the mountains, in gospel music, in spring wildflowers, and stray cats. I love you.
One of my favorite memories of my papa is when he came to see me perform at a dance competition that I had in March of 2024, so this last March. And the first time I saw him there, he was in his wheelchair. And I think at that point it just hit me that, like, that was probably going to be the last time he saw me perform. And so I ran away, ran to the bathroom. My dance friends followed me in, and I was just sobbing. They grabbed a bunch of tissues, tried to, like, fix my makeup. And it didn't really do anything, but I was able to pull myself together. And I just remember talking to my teacher, and she's like, he's here for you. Like, this is a good day. Like, he's here to support you. This isn't sad. This is happy. This is good. And I think she was just trying to convince me that I wasn't sad. And it weirdly worked. So I went on stage, and I just had the mindset, like, just dance as hard as you can for him. And that was the night that I scored the highest on my solo, and I think I have him to thank for that. But I think just, like, in general, like, that's just who he was as a person. Like, despite the circumstances, despite the difficulties, he showed up for the people that he loved. And I never thought he'd be able to see me dance again before that. So that was really, really special.
This is Sarah, Lily, Megan, and Trey, and these are some of our favorite Papa-isms.
One of them is I was getting ready for a date, and I came downstairs, and this was when he was living with us. And I was wearing a cute little outfit, and he looks me up and down for a few seconds, and then he just gasps and said, "Knock him dead."
He would always answer the phone, and he would, nothing before it, he would just go, "This is himself."
When we were playing Kings in the Corner, all of us grandkids, he would usually run out of cards before any of us, and he wouldn't tell anyone and just let it go back around until it got to him again, and then he'd tell us he ran out of cards.
One of our favorite books that he would read to Megan and I when we were little had a phrase, "I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." And that will stick with me for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Except he sang it, and I wish I could sing it for him, but we're not as good as singers as he was.
No.
One time when I was like 7 years old, he was telling me a story about my mom, and he said, "Oh yeah, one time your mom got lost in San Francisco, so I knew I had to use my Jesus voice, and I just said, 'Heather?'"
It was like in his chest, too.
Yeah, it was like really impressive.
Another book he always read to us was You're Only Old Once, which was by Dr. Seuss, and he really resonated with it, I think, because he kept quoting it for forever. And he would always say the last line of the book, which is, "You're in pretty good shape for the shape you are in."
And whenever he would take me and Lily on day trips when we were kids, and he had a compass in the truck that told him, like, how much gas mileage he was getting and then what direction we were going. He always used to, whatever direction, it'd be like, "We're going north." So thought that was pretty funny.
He loved that truck.
He did love that truck. It made the worst sound, though, when he turned it off. It was like a screech and a...
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I can still hear it.
And almost every single time they left the house, Grammy and Papa always left at different times. Papa would leave early, and he would wait in the car, and then eventually he would get out of the car, he would go inside, and he would go...
He would stand right by the front door and look upstairs,
Yep.
because she'd still be upstairs.
And he would go, "Bobby?"
When I was a freshman and I didn't have my license yet, sometimes he would pick me up from the high school because he lived like really close. And I was usually really, really exhausted from the day, so I didn't really say much when I was like in his truck with him. And so like that evening, apparently he called my mom and he was like, she just doesn't want to talk to me. Like she just doesn't like me. Like, what do I do? Like, how do I make it so that she talks to me? And so the next day I get in the car and like the first thing he says is, so what's new with Taylor Swift? I was like, oh. It was really sweet.
Papa. He would say a lot of inappropriate things about Grammy to his kids and his grandkids while she passed by them.
And it made us super uncomfortable.
But it was also really sweet. And one of the things that he would say a lot is, I like it a lot when she wears low-cut shirts.
It's so inappropriate.
One funny thing about when he was living with us the last month or so, our dog, every night, our dog would hop in bed with him, and Mom and Dad would have to carry her out, and she was like shaking because she didn't want to leave. Every night she wanted to sleep with him in bed, and she was there when he like passed on. She was in bed with him, which I always thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure every single person who's going to his memorial will know what I'm going to say next. Papa always said that one day when he died, he would be excited to go to heaven. And the biggest reason was because he will have hair. We love you more than the earth itself.
Papa made a pancake at his house.
Papa makes you pancake at his house? Yeah? And what else do you do at his house?
Thank you for letting me practice doing your garden.
Yeah, that was nice that he let you in his garden, huh? Did you pick vegetables? Yeah.
I want to do Disney more.
And go to Disney World? Did you do that? You did? Okay.